Tuna! The delight of sushi, sashimi, and seafood lovers worldwide. But today, we're not here to talk about your average tuna steak or sushi roll. Nope, we're diving into a part of the fish that usually gets left out, unnoticed, and unappreciated. The tuna eyeball. Yes, you heard me right. The eyeball. That glistening, round organ of perception. In Japan, this oceanic oddity has long held a place on the plate, daring the adventurous and baffling the squeamish. But how did tuna eyeballs go from just another discarded part to a prized, if eyebrow-raising, culinary treasure? Sit tight and keep your eyes peeled. This one's gonna be an eye-opener. Transition to history. Let's rewind the clock to ancient Japan. Back then, the ocean wasn't just a source of food, it was a provider, a godsend, and a part of the very soul of Japanese culture. Every catch was precious, and waste wasn't an option. Fishermen, mindful of this relationship, embraced the mottainai philosophy, a deep respect for resources and the principle that nothing should go to waste. Tuna, known as maguro, was no exception. The fish's firm, rich flesh became iconic in Japanese cuisine, but its other parts, including the eyes, became a way to respect this beautiful, powerful animal entirely. Fast forward a few hundred years to the Edo period, where Japan's culinary history really got some vision. Japanese society began honing its identity, especially in cities like Edo, modern-day Tokyo, which was bustling with vendors, street food stalls, and innovative cooking techniques. Fishmongers wasted no part of the fish, finding ways to use every scrap, including heads, bones, and yes, eyeballs. While the eyes weren't as sought after as the flesh, they were known as a nutritious source of protein and certain vitamins, a valuable resource in the days before multivitamins. Cultural roots of tuna consumption in early Japan. In early Japan, the relationship with the ocean shaped not only diets, but also spiritual beliefs, social customs, and culinary practices. Tuna, known as maguro, was one of the prized catches among Japanese coastal communities. The fish's rich, fatty flesh became a staple food source, especially for communities with limited land-based protein options. With fresh tuna highly valued and rare inland, every edible part of the fish was respected and repurposed, including the organs and eyes. For early Japanese communities, survival hinged on efficiency, and no part of any catch was ever wasted. Fish heads, complete with eyes, were often stewed or used in broths, creating nutrient-dense meals for families and entire villages. Eyes, though initially an afterthought, added a unique, savory flavour and were sometimes mixed with other seafood parts to maximise the depth of taste in these stews. This resourcefulness was fueled by necessity, and also a deep respect for the life taken from the ocean. Modern tuna fishing and eyeballs enter the scene. Now let's zoom forward to the mid-20th century. Tuna fishing exploded into a massive industry after World War II, thanks in large part to the demand for sushi around the globe. The Japanese fishing fleet expanded, hauling in tons of tuna for both domestic and international markets. Yet with this boom came an issue. Mountains of tuna heads were piling up, and you guessed it, so were the eyeballs. Around the 1970s and 80s, when the sushi craze was taking hold overseas, Japan's fishermen and fish markets saw an opportunity. Tuna eyeballs began appearing more frequently in izakayas, or Japanese pubs, and fish markets. They were cheap, they were unique, and for anyone feeling bold enough to try, they offered a savory, fatty taste experience. Curious customers began giving them a shot, and those who tried them found they had a pleasantly meaty, almost buttery flavour with a hint of brininess. How are tuna eyeballs prepared? Okay, so let's say you're in Tokyo and you're looking at a menu with tuna eyeballs listed. You're intrigued. But how exactly does one prepare a fish eye? Well, there are a few classic methods, each with its own culinary twist. In many izakayas, the eyeball is served simmered or steamed, allowing the natural umami flavors to stand out. The preparation is simple: a little soy sauce, a bit of ginger and some garlic, and then it's steamed until soft. The result is something gelatinous, a little fatty, and somehow surprisingly delicious. Another popular way to prepare tuna eyeballs is with a deep fry approach. Battered and fried, these eyeballs transform into golden, crunchy morsels that are less about taste and more about texture. They're crispy on the outside, creamy on the inside, and just like that, you're munching away on something you'd never have imagined biting into. For those wanting a more daring taste, eyeballs can be served raw as sashimi. But be warned, this isn't for the faint-hearted. The raw eyeball has a unique, almost metallic flavour, with a slight chewiness. Other unusual variants. You may think there's only one way to serve a tuna eyeball, but believe it or not, variations of this quirky delicacy exist. While the most common preparation involves simmering or steaming with simple seasonings like soy sauce and garlic, adventurous chefs have found creative ways to enhance its unusual taste. One particularly intriguing variant is the marinated tuna eyeball. Here, the eye is soaked in a mixture of vinegar, soy sauce, and spices for hours, infusing it with tangy, slightly sour notes that contrast its natural umami flavour. Some chefs even add a touch of sake to the marinade, lending a hint of sweetness and depth to the taste. This method makes the texture slightly firmer, which many find easier to eat, giving it a more satisfying bite compared to the soft and gelatinous steamed version. Then there's the eyeball on a stick style, a rare but growing trend in some Japanese street markets. For this variant, the tuna eyeball is skewered and roasted over an open flame, creating a charred, smoky exterior that's crispy to the bite. It's like eyeball yakitori, offering a street food twist that's both visually and gastronomically bold. As for raw variants, tuna eyeballs occasionally make appearances in high-end sushi bars. These are typically presented with a splash of ponzu sauce, sliced radishes, and a little green onion garnish for added texture. Raw eyeballs aren't for everyone, but for the intrepid diner, this experience gives a unique, pure taste of the ocean with each chewy bite. The nutritional side of things. At this point, you may be asking yourself, why? Why would anyone eat a tuna eyeball? Apart from culinary curiosity, there's actually a bit of nutritional wisdom here. Tuna eyes, as bizarre as they might seem, pack a surprising punch of nutrients. Rich in omega-3 fatty acids, these eyes are beneficial for heart and brain health. They're also high in protein and contain vitamin B12, making them a powerhouse of nutrition. Plus, they're loaded with collagen, which is popular in Japanese beauty culture. So yes, eating tuna eyes may even be considered something of a beauty hack. It's like having your sushi and your skincare in one, albeit slightly unusual, package: tuna eyeballs in popular culture. Let's pivot for a moment and talk about the role of tuna eyeballs in popular culture. Believe it or not, these peculiar delicacies have even made their way onto TV shows and foodie blogs, becoming something of a dare food for travellers visiting Japan. In fact, if you type in "strange Japanese foods" in a search engine, tuna eyeballs are almost guaranteed to pop up. It's not uncommon for tourists to beeline to Tsukiji Fish Market, a hotspot for fresh tuna, to catch a glimpse, no pun intended, of tuna eyeballs lined up for sale. From travel shows to YouTube channels, the tuna eyeball has become a rite of passage for adventurous eaters. In the culinary world, it's a bit of a hidden gem, one that has managed to hold onto a sense of mystery and novelty, despite being a staple in some Japanese circles. Cultural significance and philosophy of nose to tail. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Eating tuna eyeballs, to many Japanese people, is part of a larger cultural belief system. It's about honouring the animal and reducing waste. This is known as nose-to-tail dining, where every edible part of the animal is consumed, In Japan, this isn't just about being resourceful, it's a sign of respect. The tuna's life is honoured through the complete use of its body. The eyeball, while strange to some, is a way to avoid waste, a tangible reminder that in Japanese culture, food is a gift from nature to be cherished and respected. How to eat tuna eyeballs, a guide for the brave. So, let's say you're ready to dive into this experience. How exactly do you eat a tuna eyeball? For first-timers, the texture might be a shock. When you cut into it, you'll find the outer layer is a bit tough, but the inside is soft and fatty, almost like bone marrow. Experienced eyeball eaters recommend starting with small bites, letting yourself adjust to the texture. Add a splash of soy sauce and maybe a hint of wasabi if you're looking for a little kick. And remember, this isn't fast food. It's about savouring a unique part of the tuna that's rich with flavour, history, and a dash of adventure. Closing thoughts, would you try it? So, here's the question. Would you give tuna eyeballs a shot? It might not be the usual pick when you're craving seafood, but there's something fascinating about tasting a food with such a unique history. Japan's relationship with the sea, with nature, and with tuna in particular, has a deep-rooted respect that's reflected in the food they prepare. Eating tuna eyeballs isn't just about trying something weird, it's about understanding a different approach to food, one that values every part of the animal. And maybe, just maybe, it's about finding beauty, or at least flavour, in the places we least expect. Thank you for joining us on this culinary adventure into the unexpected. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more fascinating food history from around the world.